The day had started like any other for Thomas Wilson. After finishing his shift at the engineering firm where he'd worked for the past decade, he pulled into the Megamart parking lot, mentally checking off items he needed to buy. His son had a school project due, and Thomas had promised to help him get all the supplies tonight. "Daddy, can we get ice cream too?" asked his 6-year-old daughter Lily, unbuckling her seatbelt as soon as the car stopped. Thomas smiled at her through the rearview mirror. "Let's get the important stuff first, then we'll see about ice cream." The automatic doors slid open, welcoming them into the brightly lit store. Thomas grabbed a cart and lifted Lily to sit in the child seat, but she squirmed down. "I'm a big girl. I want to walk," she insisted, taking hold of the cart's side. They made their way through produce, picking up fruits for lunches, then headed to the school supplies section. Thomas consulted the list on his phone while Lily pointed excitedly at colorful folders and pencil cases. "Look for poster board," Thomas told her. "A big white sheet about this big." He stretched his arms to show the size. While Thomas examined different types of glue, Lily wandered a few steps away, drawn to a display of rainbow markers just within his line of sight. He kept glancing up to check on her as he compared prices. "Can we get these, Daddy?" Lily called, pointing at the markers. "Let me see them," Thomas replied, moving toward her. That's when a sharp voice cut through the quiet aisle. "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" Thomas turned to see a middle-aged man in a blue Megamart manager's vest approaching quickly. His name tag read, Philip Kent. His face was pinched with suspicion, and he was walking directly toward Thomas, ignoring other shoppers in the aisle. "Just shopping for my kid's school project," Thomas answered, puzzled by the confrontation. "You've been hanging around this aisle for quite a while," Philip said loudly. "I need to see a receipt for those items in your cart." Thomas glanced down at his half-filled cart. "I haven't checked out yet. I'm still shopping." Philip crossed his arms. "We've had a lot of theft recently. Store policy says I can check receipts whenever necessary, especially when people are acting suspicious." The manager's voice had risen, and other customers were beginning to stare. An older woman with a cart full of groceries slowed down to watch. A teenage boy put down the notebook he was examining. Thomas felt heat rising in his face as he realized everyone could hear. "There's nothing suspicious about a father shopping with his daughter," Thomas said, keeping his voice level despite his growing anger. "And I haven't seen you asking anyone else for receipts." Philip's eyes narrowed. "I know what I've seen. You people always have excuses." "You people," Thomas repeated, feeling his heart pound harder. He was acutely aware of Lily moving closer to him, her small hand gripping the back of his jacket. "Daddy," she whispered, picking up on the tension even at her young age. "It's okay, sweetie," Thomas assured her, though it clearly wasn't. "I'm going to need you to come with me to the office," Philip demanded, gesturing toward the front of the store. "Security can review the camera footage while we sort this out." 2 more shoppers had stopped now, a young woman who had her phone out and appeared to be recording, and an older man with a military-style haircut who was frowning deeply at the manager. "I'm not going anywhere," Thomas stated firmly. "I'm a regular customer here. I'm shopping for school supplies with my daughter, just like anyone else." "If you've got nothing to hide, then you shouldn't mind coming to the office," Philip countered, reaching for Thomas's cart. "Don't touch my things," Thomas said, his patience wearing thin but his voice still controlled. Years of facing prejudice had taught him to stay composed in these moments, especially with Lily watching. "You have no right to treat me differently than any other customer." "I have every right to protect this store," Philip shot back, "and I don't appreciate your attitude." Thomas looked around at the growing crowd of onlookers. Some looked uncomfortable, others curious, a few nodded in support of him. Lily was, now pressing against his leg, frightened by the confrontation. "I'd like to speak to your supervisor," Thomas said clearly. "This is discrimination, plain and simple." "I am the supervisor," Philip replied with a smug look. "I'm the store manager." Thomas took a deep breath. "Then I'd like to speak to whoever is above you. This isn't right and you know it." "There's no one above me here today," Philip said dismissively. Now you can either come with me to the office or I can call security to escort you out of the store. The older man with the military haircut stepped forward. Excuse me, he said, his voice steady and authoritative. I've been shopping here for 20 minutes and my cart has more items than his. Why haven't you asked to see my receipt? Philip looked flustered for a moment. Sir, this doesn't concern you. I think it does, the man continued. I think it concerns everyone who shops here. The young woman who was recording spoke up too. Wait, don't I know you? She asked, looking at Thomas. Didn't you give a talk at Central High last month about engineering? Thomas nodded, surprised to be recognized. Yes, for career day. I'm Ms. Rodriguez. I teach science there, she explained, then turned to Philip. This man is a civil engineer. He spoke to our students about building design and infrastructure. Philip's expression didn't change. That doesn't matter. We have procedures to follow. Procedures that only apply to certain customers? Thomas asked pointedly. Lily tugged at Thomas's jacket. Daddy, I'm scared, she whispered, her eyes wide. And that was what broke Thomas's heart most of all. Seeing his little girl afraid in a place where they should have been able to shop like anyone else. He'd experienced discrimination before, but having his daughter witness it cut deeper than any insult could. It's going to be okay, he promised her, though he wasn't sure how this would end. The confrontation had grown larger than he expected, with more people gathering by the minute and Philip showing no signs of backing down. Little did any of them know that everything was about to change, and the truth behind this confrontation would soon leave everyone in the store completely speechless. The tension in aisle 7 of Megamart had become thick enough to cut with a knife. What had started as a simple shopping trip for Thomas and his daughter Lily had turned into a public spectacle, with store manager Philip Kent continuing to accuse Thomas of suspicious behavior, while more and more customers stopped to watch the scene unfold. I've been shopping here for years, Thomas explained, keeping one hand protectively on Lily's shoulder. I've never had a problem before. Well, you have one now, Philip replied, his face flushed. Security is on their way. The crowd around them had grown to about a dozen people. Some pretended to shop while stealing glances at the confrontation. Others watched openly, with expressions ranging from discomfort to outright anger on Thomas's behalf. Ms. Rodriguez, the science teacher who had recognized Thomas, had positioned herself closer to them. She held her phone steady, still recording. I think people should see how you're treating a respected professional and parent, she said to Philip. Do you normally interrogate customers in the middle of the store like this? Philip glared at her. Recording is not allowed in the store. Actually, came a new voice from the crowd. There's no sign saying that anywhere. I checked when I came in today because I was filming a shopping haul for my social media. The speaker was a young woman with colorful hair and a confident posture. She stepped forward, also holding up her phone. And I've been watching you for the last 10 minutes. You passed right by me with my full cart without saying a word, but you made a beeline straight for this man. This isn't about anyone else, Philip insisted. This is about store policy. Selective policy, it seems, remarked the older man with the military haircut who had spoken up earlier. He moved to stand beside Thomas now, creating a subtle but clear barrier between Thomas's family and the manager. I'm Frank Thompson, he said quietly to Thomas. 27 years Army, retired last spring. Don't let this guy push you around. Thomas nodded gratefully. Thomas Wilson, and this is Lily. Lily gave a tiny wave, still partially hiding behind her father's leg. Frank knelt down to Lily's level. Hi there, Lily. Your dad and I are just having a grown-up talk with this man. Everything's going to be okay. His kindness made Lily relax slightly, though she didn't let go of her father's jacket. Look, Philip said, seeming to realize he was losing control of the situation. I'm just doing my job. We've had shoplifting incidents and I'm trying to prevent more. By targeting specific customers? Asked a middle-aged woman who had been quietly observing. She pushed her cart forward. I've been shopping here twice a week for 5 years. I've never seen anyone treated this way. The woman introduced herself as Grace Liu. I work at the bank down the street, she added. I've seen how security should be handled professionally. This isn't it. Philip's face darkened. You don't know what you're talking about. I think she does, said another man who had joined the growing circle of observers. He wore the uniform of a local delivery service. I deliver to this store 3 times a week. I've watched how you operate, man. You don't check everyone like this. Thomas felt a strange mixture of emotions. The humiliation of being singled out in public was still there, burning in his chest. But now it was joined by a wave of gratitude for these strangers standing up for him. He'd faced discrimination before, but usually people looked away, pretended not to see. This was different. Daddy, Lily whispered, tugging at his hand. Why is that man being mean to you? The simple question cut through the noise of the argument. How could he explain prejudice to a 6-year-old? Thomas knelt down beside his daughter. Sometimes people make wrong guesses about others based on how they look, he said softly. It's not fair, but it happens. That's stupid, Lily declared with the straightforward logic of a child. A few of the bystanders chuckled, breaking some of the tension. You're right, it is stupid, agreed Ms. Rodriguez, who had overheard. And brave people have to stand up when they see something stupid happening. Like you're doing, Lily asked her. Like all of us are doing, Ms. Rodriguez replied with a gentle smile. Philip, increasingly flustered as more people joined against him, spotted a young security guard making his way through the store toward them. Finally, he muttered. Now we'll get this sorted out properly. The security guard, who couldn't have been more than 25, approached cautiously, taking in the unusual gathering of people. What seems to be the problem here, Mr. Kent? He asked, looking uncertainly between the manager and Thomas. This man has been behaving suspiciously, Philip stated firmly. I need you to escort him to the security office so we can check his belongings. The young guard turned to Thomas. Sir, can I ask what's happening? Before Thomas could answer, Frank Thompson stepped forward. What's happening is clear discrimination. This manager has singled out a father shopping with his daughter while ignoring everyone else in the store. The security guard shifted uncomfortably. I'm just supposed to follow the manager's instructions. Even when those instructions are wrong? Asked Grace Lou. Even when they might be illegal? The young guard looked more uncertain by the second. I haven't done anything wrong, Thomas said calmly. My daughter and I are just trying to buy school supplies. I haven't left the store, haven't concealed any merchandise, haven't done anything any other shopper isn't doing. He hasn't, confirmed the delivery man. I've been watching this whole thing. It's messed up. The security guard turned to Philip. Mr. Kent, maybe we should discuss this privately. There's nothing to discuss, Philip insisted. I'm the manager, and I've made a decision. A bad one, someone in the back of the crowd called out. More phones had appeared, recording the confrontation. Thomas realized with a sinking feeling that this incident might end up online, shared with thousands. While he wanted Philip held accountable, he hadn't asked to become the center of a viral moment. He just wanted to shop in peace with his daughter. Lily, who had been quietly observing, suddenly pointed toward the front of the store. Daddy, someone's coming. All heads turned to see a woman walking purposefully toward them. She wore a business suit and a Megamart executive badge. Her expression, serious as she took in the unusual gathering in aisle 7. The crowd parted slightly to let her through, and even Philip's confident demeanor faltered when he saw her. What exactly is going on here? She asked, her voice carrying the unmistakable tone of someone used to being in charge. Philip straightened his vest. Regional Director Chen, I was just handling a security concern with this customer. The woman, Regional Director Chen, looked from Philip to Thomas, then to the crowd of bystanders with their phones out, the security guard standing awkwardly between them, and finally to little Lily half hidden behind her father, a security concern that required a public confrontation, and she glanced around. At least 15 witnesses. He was acting suspicious, Philip insisted, though with noticeably less conviction. I'd like to hear from the customer, Director Chen said, turning to Thomas. Sir, could you tell me what happened here? As Thomas began to explain, nobody in the store could have predicted the shocking revelation that was about to turn everything upside down. The truth that would soon emerge would leave everyone, even those who had stood by Thomas, completely speechless. Regional Director Chen listened carefully as Thomas explained the situation, her expression growing increasingly concerned. Philip stood nearby, fidgeting with his name badge, glancing nervously at the crowd still recording the encounter. "So, you're telling me," Director Chen summarized when Thomas finished, "that you were shopping with your daughter looking at school supplies, and Mr. Kent approached you, accused you of suspicious behavior, and demanded to see a receipt for items you hadn't yet purchased?" "Yes, that's exactly what happened," Thomas confirmed. "And when I refused to go to the security office, he threatened to have me removed from the store." Director Chen turned to the bystanders. "Did anyone else witness the beginning of this interaction?" Several hands went up, including Frank Thompson's and Ms. Rodriguez's. "I saw the whole thing," Frank stated firmly. "This gentleman was just shopping with his little girl when the manager singled him out for no good reason." "I have it on video," added Ms. Rodriguez, holding up her phone. "I started recording when I heard the manager's tone. It was clear something wasn't right." Director Chen nodded grimly. "I'd like to see that footage later, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with our corporate office." She turned back to Philip. "Mr. Kent, is this how you were trained to handle suspected shoplifting?" Philip straightened his posture, trying to regain his authority. "With all due respect, Director Chen, you weren't here. I observed suspicious behavior and acted according to store policy." "What specifically was suspicious?" Director Chen pressed. "He was lingering in the aisle looking at items without putting them in his cart, and his child was wandering around unsupervised," Philip replied. "His child is right there beside him," Grace Liu pointed out from the crowd. "And lingering in an aisle is also known as shopping." A few people laughed, causing Philip's face to redden further. Director Chen turned back to Thomas. "Sir, I apologize for this experience. This is not how Megamart trains its managers to interact with customers. I'd like to make this right, but first—" She paused, looking more closely at Thomas. "I'm sorry, but you look familiar. Have we met before?" Thomas hesitated. "I don't think so, but I do shop here regularly." Director Chen shook her head slightly. "No, it's something else. Your name is Thomas Wilson, correct?" "Yes," Thomas confirmed, surprised she knew his name. Director Chen's eyes suddenly widened with recognition. Thomas Wilson, the civil engineer? From Wilson and Associates? Now it was Thomas's turn to look surprised. "Yes, that's right." A murmur ran through the crowd. Director Chen turned to Philip, her expression now one of disbelief. "Mr. Kent, do you have any idea who this man is?" Philip shrugged defensively. "A customer?" "Mr. Wilson isn't just any customer," Director Chen said, her voice taking on a tone of astonishment. "Mr. Wilson is the lead architect and civil engineer who designed this entire building 3 years ago." The revelation hit the crowd like a thunderclap. Philip's mouth fell open. Even Thomas looked taken aback that she recognized him from that project. "I was part of the executive team that worked directly with Mr. Wilson's firm," Director Chen continued. "His innovative design saved Megamart millions in construction costs while creating a more energy-efficient building. This store has been used as a model for 15 other locations we've built since then." She turned to the crowd, many of whom were still recording. "In fact, if any of you had ever stopped to look at the plaque in the store entrance, you would see Mr. Wilson's name and photo right there, along with information about the sustainable design features of this building." Philip's face had drained of all color. I didn't know. I just transferred here a month ago." "That's no excuse for how you treated me," Thomas said quietly. "Whether I designed this building or not shouldn't matter. No customer deserves to be profiled and humiliated in public." Director Chen nodded solemnly. "You're absolutely right, Mr. Wilson, and I assure you this incident will be addressed appropriately." She turned back to Philip. "Mr. Kent, I'd like to continue this conversation in the office. Now." Before they could move, however, Lily spoke up from beside her father. "Does this mean we're not in trouble anymore?" The simple, innocent question from the child broke the tension. Several people in the crowd smiled or chuckled softly. Director Chen knelt down to Lily's level. "You were never in trouble, sweetheart. Your daddy helped build this store and we're very grateful to him. Lily's eyes widened. My daddy built this whole store? He designed it, Director Chen explained with a smile. He's a very important person to Megamart. I told you my daddy was important, Lily said proudly, looking around at the crowd. Thomas put his hand gently on his daughter's shoulder, touched by her unwavering faith in him even during this difficult situation. Director Chen stood up and addressed Thomas again. Mr. Wilson, while I speak with Mr. Kent, I'd like to suggest that our assistant manager help you complete your shopping. Anything you need today will be complimentary, though I know that doesn't make up for your experience. That's not necessary, Thomas began, but Director Chen held up her hand. I insist, it's the least we can do. And if you have time afterward, I'd appreciate the opportunity to discuss this incident further, and how we can prevent anything like it from happening again. As Director Chen led Philip away with the young security guard following awkwardly behind them, the crowd began to disperse. Many people approached Thomas first, offering words of support or apologies for what they had witnessed. Frank Thompson shook Thomas's hand firmly. Sorry you had to go through that, especially with your little one watching. Thank you for speaking up, Thomas replied sincerely. Not everyone would have. Ms. Rodriguez put away her phone. I teach my students about standing up for what's right. I couldn't just watch and do nothing. I appreciate it, Thomas told her. And thanks for remembering me from career day. The kids still talk about your presentation, she said with a smile, especially the part where you explained how buildings are designed to withstand earthquakes. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. As the aisle gradually cleared, an assistant manager appeared, looking somewhat flustered. Mr. Wilson, I'm Lynn Parker, the assistant manager. Director Chen asked me to help you with your shopping. I want to personally apologize for what happened. Thomas nodded, feeling the adrenaline of the confrontation finally beginning to fade. Thank you, but really, we just need to finish getting these school supplies for my son's project. Of course, Lynn said. Whatever you need. As they resumed shopping, with Lynn pushing their cart and helping them find items, Lily walked beside her father, holding his hand. Daddy? She asked quietly. Yes, sweetie? Did you really build this store? Thomas smiled down at her. I helped design it. That means I made the plans that showed the construction workers what to build. Lily considered this for a moment, looking around at the high ceilings and wide aisles with new appreciation. So it's kind of like your store? No, not really. I just helped make it. But that man was still wrong to be mean to you in your own store, Lily reasoned with the straightforward logic of a child. Thomas squeezed her hand gently. He was wrong to be mean to anyone in any store. Lily, that's the important thing to remember. As they continued through the aisles, Thomas felt a complex mix of emotions, lingering anger and humiliation from the confrontation, gratitude for the strangers who had stood up for him, and a strange sense of vindication from the unexpected revelation of his connection to the store itself. But most of all, he felt a responsibility to turn this painful experience into a teachable moment for his daughter. She had witnessed both the ugliness of prejudice and the power of people standing together against it. Somehow, he needed to help her understand what had happened today in a way that would make her stronger, not fearful. The dramatic revelation about Thomas's role in designing the very building where he had been profiled had left everyone shocked. But as he would soon discover, the aftermath of this incident would be even more far-reaching than anyone could have anticipated. The following morning, Thomas sat at his kitchen table staring at his phone in disbelief. What had begun as an unpleasant incident at Megamart had exploded overnight. Videos of the confrontation had spread across social media platforms, already gathering hundreds of thousands of views. Local news outlets had picked up the story, with headlines like "Engineer Profiled in Building He Designed" and "Megamart Manager Confronts Store's Own Architect." You okay? Asked his wife Lisa, setting a cup of coffee in front of him. She had been working late the previous evening and had only heard about the incident when Thomas and Lily returned home. I don't know, Thomas admitted. I never wanted to be the center of a viral story. I just wanted to buy school supplies. Lisa squeezed his shoulder. You handled it with such dignity. Everyone who watches those videos can see that. Their son Kevin came running into the kitchen, his tablet in hand. Dad, you're all over the internet. My friends are texting me about it. Thomas winced. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean for this to become such a big deal, sorry. It's awesome, Kevin exclaimed, his 12-year-old perspective quite different from his father's. Everyone at school is talking about how you stood up to that manager and how you actually designed the store. You're like famous now. That's not the kind of famous I ever wanted to be, Thomas said quietly. Lisa gently took the tablet from Kevin. Go finish getting ready for school, okay? Dad and I need to talk. After Kevin left, Lisa sat down across from Thomas. Have you heard from Megamart since last night? Thomas nodded. Director Chen called this morning. She was extremely apologetic and said they're taking the incident very seriously. She asked if I'd be willing to meet with their executive team to discuss what happened and help them improve their training. Are you going to do it? Thomas took a sip of his coffee, considering. I think so. If something positive can come out of this, at least it won't have been for nothing. His phone buzzed with an incoming call from a number he didn't recognize. Normally, he would have let it go to voicemail. But given the circumstances, he answered cautiously. Hello? Thomas Wilson speaking. Mr. Wilson, this is Jeffrey Barnes from the morning show on Channel 8 News. We're covering your story this morning and would love to have you on for an interview. Could you come to our studio around noon today? Thomas hesitated, caught off guard by the request. I appreciate the offer, but I have work today, and I'm not looking for publicity. I understand, the reporter replied, but this is an opportunity to share your perspective on an important issue. The video has already gone viral, and people want to hear your side of the story. Let me think about it and get back to you, Thomas said finally, ending the call. He looked up to find Lisa watching him with concern. News station? They want an interview, Thomas confirmed. And they probably won't be the last to ask. What do you want to do? Lisa asked. Thomas ran a hand over his face, feeling the weight of a decision he'd never asked to make. I don't know. Part of me just wants this to go away, to get back to normal life. But another part feels like I should say something. Not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever been through something similar without cameras recording it. His phone buzzed again with a text message. This time it was from his boss at the engineering firm. Thomas, seeing the news. Take whatever time you need today. The partners support you fully. Let us know if there's anything we can do. At least he didn't have to worry about his job. Thomas showed the message to Lisa, who nodded approvingly. Your firm knows how valuable you are, she said, unlike that manager yesterday. While they were talking, Thomas's email notification pinged. It was from Regional Director Chen with the subject line, Security Footage Review and Action Steps. Thomas opened it immediately. Dear Mr. Wilson, the email read. Following our conversation yesterday, I personally reviewed all security footage of the incident. What I found confirms everything you and the witnesses reported. While Mr. Kent claimed to be following loss prevention protocols, the footage clearly shows him bypassing multiple customers with fuller carts to specifically target you. This type of discriminatory behavior is absolutely unacceptable at Megamart. I want to inform you that Mr. Kent has been placed on immediate suspension while we complete our investigation, but I expect that termination proceedings will follow. We are also instituting mandatory anti-bias training for all management staff across our regional stores, starting next week. If you are still willing, our executive team would greatly value your input on these training programs. Your perspective as both a respected professional and someone who has experienced this treatment firsthand would be invaluable. Again, I offer our deepest apologies for this incident. Thomas read the email aloud to Lisa, who listened with a thoughtful expression. They're taking it seriously, she observed. That's something. Yes, but firing one manager doesn't solve the bigger problem, Thomas replied. This happens every day to people who don't have videos going viral or happen to have designed the building they're shopping in. Before Lisa could respond, Lily came bouncing into the kitchen, already dressed for school in her favorite purple outfit. Morning, Daddy. Morning, Mommy, she said cheerfully, apparently untroubled by yesterday's events. Good morning, sweetheart, Lisa replied, helping her into her chair. How are you feeling today? Good, Lily said, digging into the cereal Lisa placed in front of her. Is the mean man still in trouble? Thomas and Lisa exchanged a look. Yes, Thomas said carefully. The store is making sure he learns that what he did was wrong. Lily nodded, satisfied with this explanation. Ms. Rodriguez from the store called my teacher. This caught both parents by surprise. What? Thomas asked. My teacher told me yesterday at pickup, Lily explained between bites of cereal. She said Ms. Rodriguez called the school to say you were a hero and the teacher should tell everyone the story. Thomas groaned softly. This was spreading further than he'd imagined. And did your teacher tell everyone? Lisa asked gently. Lily nodded enthusiastically. She told our whole class about how you built the store and the mean man didn't know, and everyone with phones made him stop being mean. It was a simplified version of events, but essentially accurate from a 6-year-old's perspective. How did that make you feel? Thomas asked, concerned about the impact on his daughter. Proud, Lily said simply. Because you didn't yell even when the man was mean, and because lots of people helped us. Thomas felt a lump form in his throat. Despite the humiliation of the incident, his daughter had taken away something positive, the importance of keeping your dignity and the power of community support. As they finished breakfast and prepared to head out for the day, Thomas made a decision. He called back the news station. This is Thomas Wilson. About that interview request, I'll do it. But I have some conditions. 3 hours later, Thomas sat in the Channel 8 studio, microphone clipped to his shirt, as the host introduced him to the viewing audience. He had agreed to the interview on the condition that it focus not just on his specific incident, but on the broader issue of racial profiling in retail spaces. So, Mr. Wilson, the host began, you're an accomplished civil engineer who was confronted by a manager in a store you actually designed. How did that feel in the moment before anyone knew who you were? Thomas leaned slightly forward. It felt like it always feels when someone makes assumptions about you based on your appearance. Dehumanizing. In that moment, I wasn't Thomas Wilson, civil engineer, or even a father shopping with his daughter. I was just someone who looked suspicious because of how I look. And your daughter was with you during this incident. How did you explain what happened to her? That's been the hardest part, Thomas admitted. How do you explain prejudice to a 6-year-old? But kids are perceptive. They understand fairness and unfairness instinctively. I told her that sometimes people make wrong judgments based on appearance. And that's why it's important to always treat everyone with respect. As the interview continued, Thomas spoke thoughtfully about the incident, neither minimizing what had happened, nor calling for public outrage against the manager or Megamart. He emphasized the positive response from both bystanders and the company's leadership. What many people don't realize, he explained, is that for every incident that gets recorded and goes viral, there are thousands that happen with no cameras, no witnesses stepping up, and no dramatic revelation to force accountability. Those are the incidents I'm concerned about. When the host asked what he hoped would come from all this attention, Thomas responded with the measured perspective that had guided his professional life. I hope this serves as a reminder that you never know who someone is just by looking at them, and more importantly, it shouldn't matter. Whether I designed that building or not, I deserve to be treated with the same respect as any other customer. As the interview concluded, Thomas felt a sense of purpose begin to replace the discomfort of unwanted attention. Perhaps this platform could be used for something meaningful after all. Meanwhile, across town at Megamart headquarters, Regional Director Chen was meeting with the executive team, reviewing the growing public relations situation, and developing a response that went beyond mere damage control. On her tablet was a drafted email to Thomas Wilson, one that would propose a partnership neither of them had anticipated, and that would transform this painful incident into something neither of them could have imagined. 6 months had passed since that fateful day at Megamart when Thomas Wilson faced discrimination in a building he had designed. What had begun as an ordinary shopping trip had transformed into something no one could have predicted. Thomas pulled into the Megamart parking lot, the same space where this journey had begun half a year earlier. This time, both his children were with him, Lily bouncing with excitement in her car seat and Kevin looking up from his phone with unusual interest. Is it weird coming back here, Dad? Kevin asked as they walked toward the entrance. Thomas considered the question. Not anymore. It feels different now, different indeed. The store that had once been the site of humiliation had become a place of transformation, not just for Thomas and his family, but for Megamart as a company and, in small but meaningful ways, for the community itself. As they approached the entrance, Thomas could see the gathering crowd and the ceremonial ribbon stretched across the doorway of what had been redesigned as the Discovery Zone, a new children's section within the store. News cameras were set up, and several Megamart executives stood chatting with community members. Regional Director Chen spotted them immediately and came over with a warm smile. "Thomas, and this must be Kevin, and of course I remember Lily." She bent down to Lily's level. "Are you ready for the big moment?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "I practiced with the scissors." "Safety scissors," Thomas added quickly, making Director Chen laugh. The relationship between Thomas and Megamart had taken an unexpected turn in the weeks following the incident. What began with a simple apology had evolved into a meaningful partnership when Director Chen had approached Thomas with an unexpected proposal. "We don't just want to apologize for what happened," she had told him during their first meeting after the incident. "We want to make real changes, and we think you could help us do that." Thomas had been skeptical at first. "I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm an engineer, not a diversity consultant." "Exactly," Director Chen had replied. "You understand how to design structures that work for everyone. We need that same approach for our company culture." The proposal that followed was surprising. Megamart wanted Thomas's firm to help redesign not just their employee training, but also the physical layout of their stores to be more inclusive and community-oriented. They wanted to start with the very store where the incident had occurred. After careful consideration and discussions with his partners at the engineering firm, Thomas had agreed. It was an opportunity to turn something negative into real, tangible change. Now, 6 months later, they were about to unveil the first visible result of that partnership, a completely redesigned children's section that emphasized education, community, and diversity. "It's almost time," Director Chen said, checking her watch. "The mayor just arrived." Thomas nodded, feeling a mix of pride and something like closure. His firm had worked closely with Megamart's team to create a space where children could learn about different careers, cultures, and contributions to their community. The walls featured illustrations of diverse professionals: scientists, artists, builders, healthcare workers, teachers, all designed to help children see themselves in various futures. "Dad, is that supposed to be you?" Kevin asked, pointing to one of the wall displays near the entrance. Thomas followed his son's gaze to find a stylized illustration of an engineer reviewing blueprints. While not an exact portrait, there was an unmistakable resemblance. "That was the design team's idea," Thomas admitted. "I tried to talk them out of it." "It's cool," Kevin decided, surprising his father with his approval. As they joined the gathering crowd, Thomas recognized many faces, both Megamart employees and community members who had gotten involved with the project. Ms. Rodriguez was there with a small group of her students, who waved excitedly at Thomas. Frank Thompson stood near the back, giving Thomas a respectful nod when their eyes met. There were new faces too, including Lynn Parker, who had been promoted to store manager after Philip Kent's termination. She had embraced the changes with enthusiasm, becoming one of the program's strongest advocates. "Mr. Wilson," she said, approaching them with a clipboard. "Everything's ready whenever you are." Thomas checked his watch. "Let's stick to the schedule." 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes passed quickly, and soon Thomas found himself standing before the crowd, microphone in hand, with Lily holding tightly to his other hand. "6 months ago," he began, "something happened in this store that could have been just another sad story about prejudice and discrimination. I was confronted, accused, and humiliated for simply shopping while black." He paused, looking around at the attentive faces. "That could have been the end of the story. I could have walked away angry, shared my experience online, and never shopped here again. Megamart could have offered a standard apology and maybe fired an employee or two before moving on." Thomas glanced down at Lily, who was listening intently despite her young age. But something different happened instead. People stood up, strangers who didn't know me but recognized that something wrong was happening. A company acknowledged its failing and decommitted to real change, and my family and I decided not to walk away but to engage and help create something better. He gestured to the colorful space behind the ribbon. "What you see today isn't just a redesigned children's section. It's a statement about the kind of community we want to build, one where all children can see themselves represented, where they learn about different careers and contributions, and where they understand that a person's value isn't determined by how they look or where they come from." Director Chen stepped forward to join him. "Megamart is proud to unveil the first of what will be a nationwide initiative. The Discovery Zone concept will be implemented in all our stores over the next 2 years, along with our comprehensive anti-bias training program, developed with input from Mr. Wilson and community leaders. She handed the ceremonial scissors to Lily, who, with a little help from her father, cut the ribbon to enthusiastic applause. As people began to explore the new space, Thomas found himself approached by a young father with a toddler in his arms. "I just wanted to say thank you," the man said quietly. "I saw the video when it happened last year and it hit close to home. I've been followed in stores too many times to count. It means a lot seeing something good come from it." Thomas nodded, understanding exactly what the man meant. "It's a start," he replied. "Not the end, but a start." Later, as the crowd thinned and the formal event concluded, Thomas watched as Lily explored the reading nook with some other children. Kevin had wandered off to check out the technology section, and Thomas found himself alone with Director Chen. "Your firm did amazing work here," she said, looking around at the transformed space. "The feedback has been incredible, and early numbers show a 15% increase in family shoppers since we started promoting the changes." Thomas smiled. "So it's good business as well as good ethics." "The two aren't mutually exclusive," she replied. "The scholarship program launches next month, right?" Thomas nodded. The Megamart Future Builder Scholarship had been his idea, a program to support minority students pursuing careers in architecture, engineering, and design. The company had committed substantial funding, enough to support 10 students through college each year. The application process opens next week. "We already have interest from schools across the state, and the training program, rolling out to all stores as planned," Director Chen confirmed. "We've trained over 200 managers so far. The personal stories section, where employees share experiences like yours, has been especially impactful." Thomas felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The incident that had humiliated him had been transformed into something meaningful, something that would potentially help thousands of others avoid similar experiences. His phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. "How's it going?" "Any tears from Lily at her big moment?" He smiled and typed back, "No tears. She's in her element. I think we have a future public speaker on our hands." As he slipped his phone back into his pocket, Thomas caught sight of the plaque near the store entrance, the one that had been there all along, acknowledging his role in designing the building, but that Philip Kent had never bothered to notice. It had been redesigned and expanded, now including a brief mention of the incident and the changes that followed. The last paragraph read, "This store stands as a testament not only to innovative design but to the power of turning conflict into collaboration. When we recognize our failures and commit to doing better, we build stronger communities." Thomas felt a tug on his hand and looked down to see Lily. "Daddy, come see. There's books about building things just like you do." As he allowed himself to be pulled toward the engineering section of the children's area, Thomas reflected on how differently this story could have ended. The confrontation could have remained just another painful experience of discrimination, forgotten by everyone except those directly involved. Instead, it had become a catalyst for change, not perfect or complete, but real and ongoing. And perhaps most importantly, it had shown his children that problems could be solved, wrongs could be addressed, and people could work together to build something better. "What's your favorite part?" Thomas asked Lily as she showed him the display of books about different careers. Lily pointed to a colorful illustration of diverse children working together to build a model city. "I like that everybody's helping," she said simply. Thomas smiled, seeing the wisdom in her observation. That was indeed the heart of everything they'd accomplished here. People helping each other, standing up for what's right, and building something better together. As they walked through the store that day, the same aisles, where he had once been humiliated and accused, Thomas felt not the sting of that memory but the satisfaction of transformation. The truth about what had happened that day had indeed left everyone speechless, but what followed had given them all something meaningful to say and do, and for Thomas, that made all the difference.